Hello again, I'm Julie with Heart Mind Healing Arts and the Self Love Legacy, and this is our last video with the 3-day Love Fest. So I hope you've been enjoying yourself, and I hope you've been finding some really delicious ways to boost your self-love practice. Today we're going to talk about the magic of manifesting your desires. So we started off by naming our heart's desires. And if you have that piece of paper that you've been working with since the first video, go ahead and grab that. We're going to continue to work with it today. So we started off naming our heart's desires, and then the second thing that we did is based on those desires that we have, those wants and needs, we decided the words, some feeling words of how we want to feel. So hopefully you have two lists on that piece of paper. You have your desire list and you have how you want to feel. So today what we're going to do with that worksheet, with that piece of paper that we've been working with, is we're going to create a plan. We're going to talk about creating a plan. Before we do that though, I want to talk to you about why we want to do that. So oftentimes we have this insight, right? For whatever reason, we gain some kind of insight that we would like to change something or shift something, create a new habit, let go of an old habit. And sometimes we have this insight because we go to the doctor and the doctor says, this has got to change, right? So sometimes health, some sort of health crisis, it doesn't even have to be a crisis, but some sort of health challenge comes up for us and provides us with this insight. Sometimes we have this insight when we do mindfulness practices. So if we've engaged in any kind of a mindfulness practice, we just wrapped up in January a mindfulness group workshop that I ran called Love Your Body Now. And we had 3 weeks of mindfulness practices that we did every day. They were only 10-minute practices. But you can have mindfulness practices when you do yoga, when you do qigong, when you do tai chi, when you have meditation. So anytime you spend turning inward, oftentimes can bring insight to us. And so when we have that insight, again, usually we have this awareness that maybe something's not working or a need is not being met, and I would like to shift that or change that. So that's our insight. When we have that insight, oftentimes, I hear clients all the time tell me, I know what to do, I just can't do it. I can't get motivated to do it. And so that is our effective action. That's the action that we take, right? Once we know that we want to make this change or shift this habit, then we actually have to do something about that, right? We have to take effective action. And there's several sort of like stops along the way on this cycle. One is nourishment, one is completion. But when we're traveling along this cycle of making some kind of a shift or a change, we can also have some barriers along the way. So we can have an insight barrier, right, where we don't know. We don't have the insight. We continue along in an unconscious way, engaging in the patterns and behaviors that aren't serving us without any sort of awareness that they're not serving us. So that's an insight barrier. We can also have a barrier to effective action. And I find in working with my clients and even with myself that one of the main barriers to taking effective action, which is actually implementing your insight, is that we don't plan well enough. We have this insight and we say, oh, we need to shift, and then rather than actually spending some time figuring out what the need is that's not being met, figuring out what the desires are, figuring out how you want to feel, and creating a plan from there, we just sort of decide, oh, here's my insight, I would like to lose weight, and so I'm going to start going to the gym. So that works for some people. It actually worked for me for a little while. Some of you have heard my story, some of you have not heard my story. I'll give you the very quick version of it. I was in I was about 60 pounds overweight. I was in a really kind of depressed place. My daughter was 18 months old. I was very isolated in my home, and my aunt suggested that I go and try a Zumba class. And I love to dance, and it looked really, really fun, and so I did. So for me, I knew at that particular point that something needed to change. My insight did not extend as far as being able to help me figure out step by step what needed to change, but there was something in me that leapt towards that Zumba class, and so I went. But to sustain any effective action that is in alignment with, that gives us the nourishment that helps us feel the way that we want to feel, it is much easier if you make these steps for preparation first. So, the magic of manifesting your desires sounds really juicy and yummy. And then I start talking to you about planning, and that's kind of a bummer, blah. But truly, this part of it, when we take a little bit more time to do some planning around this, it is very magical, and you can start to see all of these really wonderful synchronicities begin to happen. I think in the first video I may have mentioned cooperators are standing by. So once we make that claim out into the universe, this is my need, this is my want, this is my desire, the universe begins to conspire to help us feel that way, right? But we're still co-creators in the process. All right, so let's take a look at your sheet. Get your sheet out. You've got your needs and desires, your wants, your needs, your desires. You have how you want to feel on there. So take a moment, and again, you can pause the video if you want to and take your time. And what we're going to do is look at that list of your needs and your wants and your desires, and look at your feelings that are attached to that. And I want you to pick one thing off of that list. Pick one thing. So in just a moment, I'm going to ask you to go ahead and pause the video. Before you do that though, or I'm sorry, right after you pause the video and before you pick the one thing, take about 3 breaths. So allow yourself to get grounded and to come into a place of calm if you can. If you need to take 5 breaths, take 5 breaths. Whatever you need to do, you need to turn on relaxing music. But you want to make this choice from a place of mindfulness, of awareness. And I recommend that before you even look at the list, that you do a body scan. And you just check out, what's the state of my body? How does my body feel? Just get sort of a reading on your body. And then as you go down the list and you are trying to choose what one thing you want to pick off of that list, allow your body to be your guide. So as you read down that list, what will probably happen is you'll feel your body respond to some of these things on your list. And for me, when my body is saying yes, I have a response of like leaning toward, or my heart opens and I feel really expansive. But anything that sort of feels like a yes in your body, that's going to be the thing that you want to choose, the one thing that you want to choose. So pause the video, take a moment, take some breaths, get into your body, do a little body scan, and then figure out what's the one thing, what's the one need or desire and the feeling that goes with it that you're going to choose. And then meet me back here. Okay, so hopefully you have narrowed it down to one thing. If you haven't narrowed it down to one thing, see what you can do to get it narrowed down to one thing. If you've got 2 things, we can probably work with 2 things, but any more than that, we get a little overwhelmed and distracted. So see what you can do, and again, you can set it aside if you need to. You can always come back to it. I have, sometimes when I'm having a difficult time making a decision, I will set it aside. I'll go about my day and I'll start to see what starts coming up naturally to me. So, for instance, if I'm looking at that list and I've narrowed it down to 3 and I'd really like to get it down to 2 or maybe to 1, I might set it aside and then go on about my day and see which one sort of bubbles up, or again, the synchronicities will start to happen. So someone might mention something to me that's like, oh yeah, that was on my list, or that feeling word comes up and I see somebody else talking about it, or I see it written somewhere. Those are all clues to you to pay attention to point you in the right direction. Because the universe is conspiring with you now. You are now co-creator with the universe. All right, so the one thing on your list, your one desire, your one want, your one need on that list, and how you want to feel. Now what we want to do is we want to focus on that, and we want to create a plan. What am I going to do to make this happen? Now, depending on what it is that your need or your desire is, you might look at it and you might go, oh my God, I don't even know how to make that happen. It feels so overwhelming. Or you might have jump to it and know exactly what it is that you need to do. So the thing that I like to do, whether I'm overwhelmed or not, but especially when I'm overwhelmed, is I like to break things down into one step at a time. And I like to ask myself, what is the best next step? Because there is a part of me that really, really craves freedom. And I actually believe that there is a part of everyone that really, really craves freedom. As much as we like structure, and structure is very, very helpful, there is a part of us that definitely craves freedom and too much structure, and we start to self-sabotage and we start to rebel. So what we want to do is we want to plan in such a way that we leave ourselves very open to the influence of our co-creator of the universe, right? And a way to do that for me is to ask myself in each moment, what is the best next step? So let's say that on my list I have that I want to make a certain amount of money this month. Okay, that's one of my desires. Let's say that that's it. And I've identified that making that certain amount of money will make me feel safe and secure. Okay, so that's a key part of this, is I want to make sure that I am actually feeling the way that I want to feel as I'm doing this. Okay, so then I might ask myself today, what is my best next step to make this certain amount of money, and more importantly, to feel the way that I want to feel, which is safe and secure. And if I look at that, then I might say, well, my best next step is to look at my list of people that I've been talking with over the last couple of months who have seemed really interested in my work, and now I want to reach out to them and I want to talk to them about their experience and see where they are and if I might be able to support them. That's my best next step. I don't have to figure out each and every step along the way. I just have to figure out what's the best next step. And then when I take that step, I pause and I ask myself again and again. I'm not just asking myself because I'm a co-creator here. I'm asking also for insight from the universe to help me out here. What's the best next step? Where's the opening? Where's the opening for me to feel the way that I want to feel? Where's the opening for me to have this need or desire or want met? Let's do another example. Let's say that you want to, let's see, what's a good example? Let's say that you want to create a spiritual practice that feels, right? So I want to create a spiritual practice, and what that feels helps me feel really connected to the divine. Okay. What's my best next step? If I start to think about all of the things that I might want to do, and because I have a penchant for this stuff, I love doing this stuff, I can get really overwhelmed, right? Like, I want to have new moon ceremonies and full moon ceremonies, and I want to have meditation circles, and I want to do this and I want to do that. But I'm also a single parent with a daughter, so I have that reality going on. And so I might get into a place, if I don't just stop and ask myself, what's my best next step? I might get into a place where I start to listen to the voices in my head that are telling me, you can't have that, right? You can't have that. So asking myself, where's the opening? What's my best next step? Helps me keep those voices at bay. So those voices that tell me you can't have that are connected to the voices that tell me you're not worth that. You're not worth meeting your needs, right? So guess what is one of the most magical and powerful spells that you can do to break that spell, that unworthiness spell? It is actually taking steps, effective action steps, to meet your needs and desires so that you can feel the way that you want to feel. It truly is magical when you can take those steps to look at your list, narrow it down to one thing, make sure that you're identifying how you want to feel, and then create a plan for feeling that way. And the plan includes what's the best next step, and every day you focus on that. What's the best next step? Several times a day, what's the best next step? Where's the opening? Now, that being said, sometimes the best next step is to get some support, right? Because there is something about two or more people coming together with the intention of making this happen that amplifies that particular intention. So support for you might be finding a buddy that you can be accountable to, finding a coach, joining a class. It was super helpful for me to join a gym and to be in a class that I went to that was at a set time every day, rather than relying on myself to get out and go on a walk. That's what I needed to do. And that's part of the planning process too. What's my best next step? It might be that you reach out for support. Support is invaluable. Having allies are invaluable to making sure that you stay on track and focused on your goal. Having someone in your corner makes a huge, huge difference. All right. That concludes our 3-day Self-Love Fest. I hope you've had a good time. I hope you've gotten a lot of good information. And I would love to hear back from you. How was this for you? Anytime you give me any feedback, whether it is something that I could improve or whether that's something that really resonated with you and you enjoyed, it helps me improve these offerings for everyone. So I hope that you will take a few minutes of your very precious time and just get in touch with me and let me know, what did you like about the 3-day Love Fest, and what would you have liked to have seen different, or what would you have liked instead? Or did you have expectations that were not met, or were a little bit different, things turned out a little bit differently than you anticipated? That's helpful for me to know too. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm so thrilled that all of you joined me for the 3-day Self-Love Fest. I hope that you found this information valuable and these practices valuable. If you would like to get in touch with me, you can email me. You can reply to the emails that are going out for sure, but you can also email me at heartmindchi@gmail.com. And of course, you can find me on Facebook at Heart Mind Healing Arts. That's my business page. And then we have our private Facebook page, or our closed Facebook page, which is the Self-Love Tent. And I'd love for all of you to join me in there too, if you would like to. For the rest of the month, I'm sorry, not for the rest of the month, for all of March, I'm also doing Love You Breakthrough sessions. So they're 30-minute sessions where you can bring your piece of paper that you've been working on right here and your one thing, and we'll get a little bit more specific about picking your goal, how you want to feel, and a plan that we can come up with right on the spot in 30 minutes to help you move you closer towards that goal. If you were not part of the 3-day Love Fest and doing this exercise, or if you haven't done them yet, that's okay. We can still have the 3-day, or we can still have the Love You Breakthrough call. We'll just have to go a little bit quicker and do the work. We'll kind of speed through the work. All right, I will leave a link for scheduling that as well in the description and in the email. Again, I hope to hear from you. I hope to hear some feedback from you. It's been a pleasure talking to you over these last 3 days. Thank you so much, and I will see you soon. Bye-bye. Mwah.